I never expected her to remember my name, let alone everything else. It happened at the laundromat on Ninth Street, the one with the flickering tube lights and the vending machine that always ate your coins. I'd gone there because my washing machine at home made a sound like it was choking on rocks. Also because it was easier than being alone in my room. Sounds stupid, but watching clothes spin felt like company that didn't ask questions. I was folding a hoodie that wasn't really clean, just warm, when she walked in. Aunt Sarah. That's what my friend called her mom. I'd met her a few times before. Brief moments. Door half open. Tea in chipped cups. A quick hello, beta on my way out. She looked different outside the house. Or maybe I'd never looked properly before. She set her basket down next to mine because the other machines were broken. These ones shake less, she said, tapping the washing machine like it was an old friend. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. She wore a plain blue corda and a loose bun, a few strands of hair refusing to stay tucked. Her sleeves were rolled up. I noticed her wrists. Quick glance. Looked away. Looked back. I folded my hoodie slower than it needed to be. You live nearby? She asked, loading detergent. With Imran, I said. My brain stalled for half a second. Then, your son. A small smile touched her face. I know who he is. There was a silence after that. Not awkward. Just wide. The machines hummed in the background like white noise in my chest. I pulled out my phone and pretended to check something. There were no messages. There were never any messages. I typed, hey, to someone I hadn't talked to in months, then deleted it. Put the phone back in my pocket and watched the clothes spin again. She sat on the plastic chair opposite me. I could feel her presence without looking. When I finally did, she was already looking at me. Not staring, just noticing. I dropped my eyes immediately. Started folding a napkin I'd taken from the coffee shop earlier that morning. Didn't know why I still had it. You're very quiet, she said. I like quiet, I said. It came out too fast. She nodded, like she understood that more than I wanted her to. Imran says you don't talk much. He talks enough for both of us, I said. That made her laugh. A soft laugh. Not loud. The kind that surprises itself. We didn't talk for a while after that. Just sat there with the machines doing all the work. I noticed the way she rubbed her thumb along her ring finger when she thought I wasn't looking. I noticed she lined her slippers perfectly straight on the floor. I noticed everything and tried not to. When the dryer finished, I stood up too quickly. My hands were suddenly clumsy. Socks fell. I knelt to pick them up. From above me, I heard her voice. You keep looking at me like you know my secrets. I froze. I looked up, unsure if I should smile or apologize or pretend I didn't hear. She wasn't smiling. Not accusing either. Just curious. I'm not, I said. It was a lie, but a soft one. She held my gaze for a long second, then looked away, as if she'd said too much. Out in the parking lot, the sky had turned that late orange that feels like it's holding its breath. She walked a few steps ahead of me. I stayed behind, pretending to fix my grip on the plastic bag. Before getting into her car, she turned around. You can come by tomorrow, she said. Imran won't be home. I made too much kheer today. I nodded. Said nothing. That night, my phone buzzed. A new message. From an unknown number. Sarah, don't look at people like that unless you're ready to understand them. And just like that, I couldn't sleep. I went the next day. I told myself it was just for the kheer, just to be polite. I even rehearsed a normal face in the bathroom mirror before leaving. Like that mattered. Her door was already open when I reached. Soft smell of cardamom and something burnt. Sugar, maybe. Come in, she said from the kitchen. Not loud. Not soft. Just there. I took off my shoes slowly, like the floor might judge me. The living room looked the same as always. Lace curtains, sofa covers, a slightly crooked photo frame of her and Imran from years ago. She didn't look at me when I stepped in. She was pouring tea, her back to me, her dupatta slipping from one shoulder. You can sit, she said. I sat. Hands folded, then unfolded, then folded again. She brought the tea and placed it on the table without touching me. Our fingers came close. Not enough to touch. Too close to be nothing. We drank in silence at first. The kind of silence that isn't empty, but full of thoughts that don't want to come out. You live alone mostly? She asked. Mostly, I said. Roommates change. Friends get busy. She nodded. That happens. I don't know why I said it, but I did. My father used to sit like this, I added. Quiet. Cup in both hands. Like he was warming something inside. Her eyes paused on the rim of her cup. He died when I was in school, I said, staring at the tea instead of her. I hadn't planned to say it. It felt like a small stone slipping out of my pocket. She didn't say sorry. She didn't make a face. She just whispered, "You must miss him." I miss how quiet it felt, I said. That surprised me. She washed the cups after. I stood by the sink without knowing why I hadn't left yet. It leaks sometimes, she said, pointing to the tap. I tightened it for her. My hands brushed the steel. Her hands brushed mine as she steadied the pipe. She didn't pull back fast. She didn't pull back slow either. Just stayed. One breath too long. I noticed a faint scar near her wrist. Thin. Old. I imagined where it came from and hated myself for imagining. You shouldn't come here alone, I said suddenly. Too fast. Too honest. Her expression changed slightly. Not shocked. Not angry. Just careful. Imran is not a child, she said. I'm not talking about him, I said. That was the risky part. The part that balanced on the edge of something I wasn't allowed to think about. She looked at the clock. I looked at the floor. We both pretended to be busy with nothing. When I stood to leave, she handed me a container of kheer. For later, she said. Our fingers touched this time. Not accidentally. Not fully on purpose. Just a quiet, soft touch that stayed in my skin. She smiled, barely. I tried to joke. You'll make me dependent on this. Her eyes lifted to mine. People get used to warmth quickly, she said. That night, back in my room, I kept thinking about the way her hand had paused. About the scar. About the silence. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. I stopped going for 3 days. Not because I didn't want to. Because I wanted it too much. My routine shifted without me noticing. Different route home. Different tea stall. I even used a different laundromat once. The machines there didn't hum the same. That annoyed me more than it should have. On the 4th day, I saw Imran outside the gate. He leaned against his bike, chewing gum. You've been busy? I shrugged. Work. He nodded, distracted. Then, casually, Mama said you didn't come by. My chest tightened. She made kheer. I'm still eating it. He laughed, climbed onto his bike, and left. Just like that. A small comment. A big echo. I stood outside her house longer than I should have. Counted the cracks in the wall. Straightened a crooked brick with my foot. Almost walked away. I knocked. She opened the door slowly. Like she'd been not opening it for a while before deciding to. You disappeared, she said. I got busy. A pause. Come in. The inside looked the same, but it felt different. Like the air had been moved around while I was gone. She didn't make tea this time. Just poured water. That felt like a message. We sat apart on the sofa. Not close. Not far. You shouldn't come so often, she said without looking at me. I didn't come for 3 days, I replied. She sighed through her nose. A quiet exhale, like she was tired of fighting something that didn't talk back. I'm not a safe place, she said. Not dramatically. Just stated. I watched her hands instead of her face. She was twisting the edge of her dupatta around her fingers. I'm not asking you to be safe, I said. Silence. Her phone buzzed on the table. A soft vibration. She didn't check it. It kept vibrating, like someone impatient on the other side. Then the front door clicked. Footsteps. Imran's voice. Mama, I forgot my charger. He stopped when he saw us. Not shocked. Not smiling. Just processing. Oh, he said. You're here. I was leaving. I said too fast. He lifted his eyebrows slightly. Okay. He went to his room. Closed the door. The air after that felt thinner. She stood up abruptly. You shouldn't sit like this when he's home. I didn't know. I know. We both stood there, too close to the coffee table, too far from the door. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second like a small tap on my chest. I moved toward the door. She moved too. We ended up standing inches apart. I could smell detergent on her clothes. Lemon. Soap. Something warm underneath. She lifted her hand, like she was going to fix my collar. Or stop me. Or something else. Her fingers hovered near my neck. Didn't touch. Didn't pull back. We stayed like that. Breath to breath. Nothing happening. Everything happening. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to say something dangerous or honest. I leaned forward without fully deciding to. She whispered, "Don't." But she didn't move. And I don't know what would have happened if the charger hadn't fallen from Imran's room and hit the floor. The sound broke everything. I stepped back. She dropped her hand. Silence returned. Heavier. At the door, she said softly, "You don't know what you're asking for." I stepped out without answering. Because the truth was, I didn't. And I did. We started walking in the evenings. Not planned. Not promised. It just happened. The street behind her house had a narrow footpath and a line of neem trees. Broken streetlights. Dust in the air. Dogs sleeping like they owned the road. We didn't hold hands. Didn't stand too close. We just walked the same pace, listening to our own footsteps like they were keeping secrets. That day, she was quieter than usual. "You've changed your schedule," she said. I had to. You didn't have to. Silence stretched between us. She was watching the pavement instead of me. I noticed the way her shoulders seemed heavier, like she was carrying something old. A girl passed us, laughing into her phone. Young. Bright. She glanced at me for half a second. I felt it before she said anything. "You looked," she said. I didn't answer. "You always look," she added. Softer now. It wasn't. I stopped. I didn't finish. Didn't know how. Because it wasn't about the girl. It was about the fact that I'd seen myself from her eyes. She stopped walking. I stopped too. The bench near the corner was empty. We sat. Not touching. Not breathing too loudly. Her voice changed. Not louder. Just tighter. "You think I don't see it?" she asked. "See what?" "How you forget where you are," she said. "Who I am." My fingers clenched around my phone. I didn't even realize I was holding it. "You're my son's friend," she said. "You sit in my house. Drink my tea." I nodded. "You're not supposed to look at me like that." A long pause. "I don't want to," I said. It came out honest before I could stop it. "That's not what your eyes say," she replied. Wind passed through the trees. Dust lifted. The streetlight flickered once, then stayed dark. She looked tired. Not old. Not weak. Just tired. A passing thought flashed through my head. Walk away. Another one. Move closer. I stayed still. "My husband," she started. Stopped. Her lips pressed together. She looked at her hands, folded tightly in her lap. "He left years ago," she said finally. But the house didn't learn to be empty. I didn't speak. I just listened. "It still makes tea for two," she went on. "Still keeps doors half open." Her breath shook slightly. I felt something sharp behind my ribs. Something hot and slow. "I don't want to be the kind of woman," she stopped again. Swallowed. "That people whisper about." "I'm not whispering," I said. She looked at me then. Directly. Fully. "For how long?" she asked. It wasn't loud. It wasn't soft. It was a real question. I leaned forward without meaning to. My elbow brushed her dupatta. She didn't move away. "For how long will you pretend this is just walking?" she asked. Our knees almost touched. Almost. Her hand moved toward mine, then stopped midair. We stayed like that. Two people sitting inches from something that didn't have a name. If I leaned forward a little more, if she placed her hand a little lower, she whispered, barely audible, "What do you think you're doing?" And I realized I didn't have an answer, but I wanted one. Badly. She stopped answering. No missed calls. No small warnings. No quiet explanations. She just disappeared from the spaces where she used to exist. I knocked twice that week. The door stayed shut. I stood there long enough to hear the clock ticking through the wall. Long enough to realize she was probably home and choosing not to be. Imran didn't mention anything. That made it worse. At the tea stall, I kept checking my phone like it might look back at me. I typed her name once, then erased it. Typed, erased, typed, erased, until I was just staring at a blank message field. Maybe I imagined everything. The pauses, the bench, her hand hovering near my collar. Then I saw her. Not at home. At the clinic. She was sitting outside a small dental clinic 2 streets away. White walls. Plastic chairs. Old magazines. Her dupatta wrapped tighter than usual. Closed. Careful. She stood up when she noticed me. I stood up too. Neither of us smiled. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I wasn't looking for you." I lied. She nodded, like she accepted the lie because she needed to. I noticed it then. The tiredness wasn't just tiredness. The way she held her bag close. The way her jaw tightened when she swallowed. Your husband? I asked. She looked away. He came back, she said. The words didn't land like thunder. They landed like dust. For a week, she added. Needed papers signed. Old things opened. I didn't know where to keep my hands. I shoved them into my pockets and clenched them there. He stayed in the guest room, she said. But the walls are thin. I pictured it without wanting to. Her kitchen. Her clock. A man sitting in a chair that mattered. I felt stupid for thinking I had any kind of place there. That's why you stopped talking to me? I asked. She didn't answer. That was the answer. When I walked past her house that night, I slowed down. Didn't knock. Just stood by the gate. I imagined her inside. Making tea. Sitting alone. Or not alone. I pulled out my phone. Typed. I missed the way you looked at me. Deleted it. Typed. Are you okay? Deleted that too. Typed. I won't come anymore. My thumb hovered over send. I locked the phone. Put it back in my pocket. The next evening, I went to the bench. It was empty. Of course it was. I sat for a while, staring at the cracked pavement and the flickering streetlight. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused, like life forgot to finish the sentence. I didn't plan to knock. My hand just lifted. The door opened before I could change my mind. She looked tired. Not messy tired. Soul tired. Like someone who had spent the whole day putting things back where they never belonged. You shouldn't be here, she said. I know. She stepped aside without thinking. Or maybe with too much thinking. I walked in. The kitchen light was on. One bulb. Yellow. A small shadow under her eyes. She poured water into the kettle. Didn't ask if I wanted tea. I didn't ask to stay. Silence sat between us like a third person. He left again, she said. I didn't say I'm glad. I didn't say I knew he would. I just nodded. I thought, if I ignored you, she continued, staring at the flame instead of me, it would make me feel clean. That word landed softly. Clean. It didn't, she added. My throat felt tight. I leaned against the counter so she wouldn't see my hands shaking. I stopped coming, I said. Not because I wanted to. Because I didn't know who I was becoming. She turned to me then. Slowly. You were becoming quiet, she said. And it scared me. The kettle started to whistle. She turned the gas off. Still didn't make tea. I thought you were a mistake, she said. I looked at the floor. I thought I was a guest who forgot he was a guest. Her fingers brushed the counter between us. Didn't touch me. Didn't pull away. We stood there, close enough to feel breath, far enough to stay safe. I don't want to ruin your house, I said. She gave a small, tired smile. This house was cracked before you walked in. A long pause. The kind that asks things without words. I moved my hand. Stopped. Moved it again. Placed it on the edge of the counter near hers. Not touching. Just close. She looked at our hands. Then up at my face. If I say stay, she began. You don't have to, I said. She considered that. A tiny crease between her brows. Okay, she said. Just that. Not stay. Not go. Just okay. Our fingers touched. Brief. Soft. Real. No rush. No promise. Just warmth. And for the first time in a long while, neither of us pulled away. Tom didn't fix things. It softened them. The bench is still there. Same crack on the left side. Someone painted the streetlight, but it still flickers when the wind is too strong. I sit there sometimes now, with a cup of tea I've started carrying from home instead of buying. She says the stall uses too much sugar. We don't walk every evening anymore. Life got fuller in small ways. Her clinic shifts, my classes, groceries that need carrying, light bulbs that need changing. We stopped pretending we didn't notice each other. That was the biggest change. At 8:47 a.m., I still hear the kettle. She doesn't call me inside like before. She just leaves the door half open. That's enough. I step in. She hands me black coffee now instead of tea. You drink it without sugar, she said once, surprised. I'm used to it, I answered. She understood what I meant. Imran moved out 2 months ago. New city. New job. He hugged her tight at the gate and told me to take care of things. He didn't say what things. He didn't have to. The house feels quieter now. Not empty. Just quiet. Sometimes we sit at the kitchen table without talking. She folds laundry. I scroll on my phone without seeing anything. Our shoulders sometimes touch. It's never a big moment. It's always an almost moment. She laughs more now. Not loudly. just a low sound at the back of her throat. I live for that sound more than I should. Once, while wiping the counter, she said, "You used to look like you wanted to run." I didn't answer. I still do sometimes. The difference is, now I know where I'd stop. We never labeled it. Never needed to. There was no promise ring. No dramatic night. No loud confession. Just quiet agreement. Sometimes, when the morning is slow, she adjusts my collar before I leave. Her fingers warm. Steady. Familiar. She did that yesterday. I looked at her and said, "You kept your warning." She raised an eyebrow. "Which one?" "You told me not to look at you like I knew your secrets." She smiled. Small. Almost shy. And now I think I paused. I always do. She waited. She always does. "You let me." She didn't answer. She just poured more tea into my cup. Outside, the street smelled like dust and sunlight. A stray dog slept under the flickering pole. Nothing dramatic. Nothing perfect. Just something real. Just something that stayed. And when I left, she didn't say goodbye. She said, "Don't be late tonight." I wasn't.